Happy Friday. Episode 19. Guys, we did 4 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks. I said it's 19 because one of the days in one of the weeks was a public holiday. So yeah, we've done a month. Ooh, this is exciting. And I think this is the part that we forget about the bigger picture is that whatever you can find that brings you back, that actually brings you this enjoyment, that brings you to the next piece and allows you to enjoy the process of the creating. I think there's so much to be said for that. And it's so easy for it to be conditioned on the expectation of a certain outcome. The whole, I won't do it unless I know something is going to come out of it. And it's how do you get yourself to the point where you realize enough times to sit in it and do it, and that the only thing that matters is the enjoyment of the doing of the thing, because the time that it takes is gonna differ, and it just, if it's already such a slog to do the initial thing, it's only gonna get harder, I feel. I don't know. It's an odd one. It's an odd one. Because I don't know, we're not designed to be stuck in so much survival and to only be thinking of everything as such a game plan. And this kind of comes off the back of seeing a post up as well recently that was talking about, treating your personal life like your business. And I think this plays into what we've talked about before in terms of just the over optimization of life. The tracking every little tiny metric to the point where it's nauseating. And I think there's frameworks belong in different zones. But if you try to fully automate everything, like it just sucks the fun out of it all too. And I think that's where the lines can cross when you're trying to do like becoming good in business will make you a good leader. Learning those skill sets, but then learning that the people in your life aren't to be treated as KPIs and employees. And that those relationships are going to ebb and flow, and that sometimes, the advice that you'd give in business is not the advice that you'd apply over onto a life situation. And I think it's easy for those lines to get blurred sometimes now because, especially with the phones, we take everything home with us and it's all kind of merged. I think that's where the era of the workaholic was kind of born. The fact that you were always able to be contacted and we allowed everybody to always be available to contact us. I remember one of the biggest parts of coming out of the agency and helping regulate my nervous system back to a more calm base. I had to detach myself. I love how I'm pointing over there. I'm using it to film. I had to detach myself from my phone. I had to set restraints, I guess. I mean, I was lucky enough to get to the point where I think I've said it before, where I've not had to set an alarm for a long time. So even little things like that, when you're working for yourself or you're working at home and you're working on these schedules, like it's very easy for us to put ourselves into these schedules that we build based off of what we've just come out of, not realizing that it's not necessarily just the thing that you're doing, but also the schedule around it that affects the energy and the pressure to perform at certain points. I guess for me, it's been a big, weird, like push-pull argument with my brain where it's like, where are the lines where I turn around and be like, okay, this is what we're doing, this is the thing, these things need to get done. Versus then the pushing yourself through it when you know the energy's not there or you shouldn't really be doing it, which then, almost now thinking about it can also turn into little intuitive nudges to kind of move you into a different direction. Where was it going? Nope. Lost the thread. rooibos tea today with some honey and milk. Delicious. I think it was just that bigger picture of mastering your own mind is a very interesting thing. The levels of awareness that you have to kind of jump back through, but then also maintain, but then also understand where you're sitting in it and realize that when awareness turns into ego very sneakily sometimes as well, because I think that's where I sat for a long time, where it's like, oh, I'm so aware of everything. And it's like, yeah, well, if you're so aware of everything, why are you not where you want to be? And that's where I kept coming to the conclusion where it's like, for a smart person, you're being really stupid right now. Or like, we clearly haven't, like, what are we not listening to? And I think that ties in nicely to where it's amazing how far we've been trained from allowing ourselves to be okay with things being easeful and allowing ourselves to create an income from things that are easeful. There always seems to be this barrier of, no, it must be hard, or we must have earned it, or we must have, and I'm not saying that there are skill sets that aren't earned, but, natural tendencies of creativity, of imagination, of bursts of inspiration and ideas, like those come through you. And if you're stifling them or setting too many expectations, it can very quickly then flip over into the ego side of, no, it must just be quite so, instead of it staying in that very, I'm going to show up as an empty vessel in that sense for today and see what moves through me. I think that's where a lot of people, I know I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, multi-passionates again, like to put that label on it, but we start so many different things and then it takes us a while to come and circulate back round to it, but we do eventually. And at any given point, the spark of the curiosity or the idea to go down a little rabbit hole to a certain point, like initiates something. And so it's like, okay, and then we've gone down it far enough and now this has caught our attention. So it's like, all right, we'll leave that for a second and then we'll go over there. And we dig down that rabbit hole. And then it's when we get to a point in that rabbit hole that we go, oh, hang on a minute, that actually ties back into what I was digging over there. So now I have two pieces that are kind of connected. Okay, well, let's see if we can bring this back up in a new phase, and as the months go by and as the years go by as well, the ability of what we're able to do changes because of what's happening with the tech. I mean, I've kept saying now that, since 2024, when I was running these AI, build your personal brand AI challenges in 10 days and create 30 days worth of content, to help small business owners utilize AI to actually get their voices out there. Because they didn't need to be spending on an agency or a marketing team. And sometimes that can be more trouble than it's worth if you're not able to articulate what it is that you want. And the marketing team has had a series of successes with a certain formula. So for them, it's in their best interest to maintain the formula because that's what they know works. But again, everybody has those slight gray areas. So it's how do you maintain the foundations of a formula which work with the principles, but allow enough flexibility, again, for that nuance and for that individuality to come through. And yeah, I just find it very interesting, clearly. But it's also felt like, with the roller coaster ride that has been my life and the different industries and cross sections that I've gone down, it's only been in the last 6 months now where it suddenly feels like, oh, I actually created my own little mountain of the things that I love, that I enjoy, and my values and my philosophies and my this and my that, and I'm quite happy with the little patch that I've kind of grown here and the grass that I've watered around me. There's always that old adage, the grass is greener where you water it. And it's very easy to always look at the grass over there, forgetting that at any given point, you can only work with where you're at and where you're going. And so we need to diagnose this plant that is stressed and confused and figure out how to make sure that's getting all its nutrients and natural resources to thrive and to see the light and to see the ideas and to see the beauty and to see, the next bit of what's coming. It doesn't help when you're stuck in the survival because that nervous, just that constant, something's going to happen, like on edge. It's very energy draining. And I think that's where it's that counterintuitive thing of resting actually helps you with more energy and, training and all of this stuff. The first couple of weeks of doing your training, yes, it's going to tire you out because you're putting yourself through more physical, exertion than you have before, but after you get through the couple of weeks, it starts to shift into an energy fueling source. And when you've been in the gym, or you've been in a fitness or a movement or whatever routine you've got, whether that's even just walking and with no devices, or going for a run or cycle or swim or paddleboard or whatever it is that you enjoy doing, and having that time to just get back in your body as well and move all the stuck energy that's been sitting there. You know, we spend so much time sitting, watching these screens, and then wondering why we're not feeling like we can pull all these creative ideas through. And it's like, well, there's nothing, it doesn't feel like it's circulating or it's breathing or it has the space to move. I guess this all came about because this morning was the first time that I'd allocated some time to continue one of my art pieces that I've started for a mentor of mine, and so much resistance again, like starting, I was like, oh, now I need to just go make a cup of tea, oh, now I need to go get this ready, oh, now I need to go, and it's like, Maya, just sit down, you got a couple of hours, there's nothing else you have to do right now, it's fucking 6 o'clock in the morning, just go, just paint, you got your little room, you got your quiet, you got your music on, you got YouTube on, like, just enjoy, there's nothing else you need to do. And then I get to come film this, and then I get to go to the shops, and then I get to come back and tackle my client work for the afternoon. And I'm like, well, isn't this just a beautiful day? But I've had days like this with the space, without then doing the art and without doing the movement, where I just ruminate in the possibility of what is. And then you miss the window of opportunity for the doing of the thing that you've been thinking about doing. Like, I'm looking back at some of the days that you wake up and it's like, okay, procrastinate long enough. It's suddenly, middle of the afternoon and you've done none of your things and you've had plenty of time to do them. And now you've got to get other things done. And now you're feeling begrudging because you're doing other things when you wanted to do your things. But then when the free time to do your things come up, all you want to do is sit on your phone or do this. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. I just find it very interesting. Very interesting what we do to ourselves. Oh. And it reminded me, well, a reel the other week reminded me. Somebody had popped up and said, well, it was something like, how do we get the motherlode activated or something? And I don't know if any of you also played Sims when you were kids. My older sister was an absolute fanatic. She was the one that got it into the family, but oh my gosh, it was funny watching The Sims. I always used to cheat with the money code. I hated doing the game where you had to build the house within the budget to then have to go to work to get the promotion, to then earn the things, to then do the stuff. I was like, nope, I'm playing a game. A motherlode, let's see how wacky we can make this house. I want a pool with a whole house that's then floating above it with like trying to build things to see if these characters could walk up and down them or like bump into them or even use them. I remember building a house so big one time. Actually, that was what it was. I'd built in Sims the blueprint of the place that my parents had got in Thailand. We got a timeshare place out there. They sold one of their properties in the UK to get one in Thailand, because when the family got to the size of 6, flying over to Europe was a lot of money. So Thailand made it easier, and we got grandparents to come out to visit us if they wanted to come see us. And so they bought a little place in the Laguna in Phuket. Don't have it anymore. We sold it back to the other lady that owned half of the house as well. That was where my parents actually spent the last 2 years before Dad had retired, and then they moved back to the UK to be in the UK flat. And then he passed 2 months after they'd retired for their adventure. So very funny. Well, not funny, but just amusing to me. The official party line of saving yourself for retirement, when I saw the state that my father made it into by retirement. That was no state to be living a life in, but he had an action life, so we won't delve into that just today. But The Sims, playing The Sims, it reminded me, there's been a few too many coincidental messages again, and one of the mentors that I love very dearly, Becca Pike, she's an absolute beacon in my world in terms of somebody that I've found that I've gone, I knew it was possible. I knew it could be done. I knew you can have a big heart and go and do all of this. I know you can be a good person and go make a shit ton of money. I know that makes you only a better person. And what that does is it provides you the ability to then house and protect some of those that aren't that way inclined. And I think it's difficult as creatives sometimes to feel how big our intentions are, and then to remind ourselves how small sometimes the inner work can feel when we're doing it, when we feel like we need to be out there or doing more or doing this. It tends to feel counterproductive to solely focus on yourself, but it really swings round back to that. You have to put your oxygen mask on yourself before helping others. If you are rocking up an absolute frazzled, stressed mess, that doesn't help. It's the same thing. I was chatting with my husband last night. You know, when you get into these office routines or these workout routines, he was on another day with like an 8-hour shift, and in certain gyms, it's like they don't. It's one thing if you're picking up slack for people that have gone away, or it's cover, or it's not the norm, but it's very easy for rosters to fill up, especially in the personal training environment. And I think maybe because I'm stepping back onto the gym floor, it's just a nice little reminder of note to self. It can be very easy to start getting addicted to the numbers of the clients that are coming in and the payment that you get at the end of the month. And you start going, oh, well, if I can do 1, then I can do 8, then I can do 12, then I can do this. But if you don't manage your schedule enough, you are also the trainer and the coach. And if you are killing yourself in order to serve your clients, there will be a point where this breaks, which means everything else on the front end collapses. And I also feel that our clients can sense it when we're not living in alignment with what we're saying. And it's one of the simplest things, but also hardest things to do. Like I said, when you do move out of some of these levels of awareness, it's very tricky sometimes where the awareness then sneaks over into ego, or it can go, oh, now it's like suddenly I'm better because I know more. And it's like, no, that's not how this game works, because at any level you get into the next level of like, how chill can you be within the chaos? And there are more and more levels that open up underneath that. And then it's like, okay, well, if you're so clever and you can be so calm and so chill, where are you then serving others? How is the money and the green energy able to flow back to you? What are you actually creating? What are you producing? That was one of my favorite stories from my dad and my mum when they were out on a night out or something. God, I can't even imagine Mum being an absolute liability to my father on a night out. Because he was a big dude and a policeman, and she always hung out with all the boys. And back then, there was no photographic evidence or videos of you being an absolute nut when you're drunk. So there was no fear. I've realized that as I started to get older. I was like, how does Mum have no fear when she does the drinking thing, and then she just starts yapping shit? And it's like, oh, because if she doesn't remember, it didn't happen. But they were talking, there was this guy that was being apparently an absolute dick or whatever at the bar, and just, being a right royal piece of shit. And at one point, Mum just turned around to him and said, and what have you ever done for society? And I think putting it back on ourselves is so much part of the game. Like, it's very easy to sit and worry about other people, or worry about the world, or worry about things that we can't actually change. And it's like, what are you doing around you? Or what are you doing with where you're at, with what you've got to create more joy, more light, more happiness, more fun, more play, more connection, more, it's that whole phrase, like, a smile costs nothing. What do you do as you move throughout your day to put a smile on other people's faces, or to say something nice to the checkout lady if you've noticed she's got her hair done, or, the baristas? That's one for me at the coffee shops. If I notice the ladies have got their nails done, especially if they're fresh, and you can see, well, I'm a lady, I know, so I can tell. But if I notice that there's just a particularly pretty art pattern or something on their nails, I'm like, oh, I like your nails. And their little faces sometimes when they light up, and they're like, oh, it's nice. And I noticed with one of the waitresses in the local restaurant that we've got here, I always spot her nails. She does some crazy little nail art, and it's brilliant. So every so often, every time I go in, I'm looking at them, like, and she's like, oh, not new yet, not new yet. And then whenever she has a new one, she's like, new nails, new nails. And it's very cute to see. And, you know, then they're the people that when you're at a table and it's busy, they come to you first. And people wonder where this like reciprocation comes in, but it's also an energy that you exude when you walk into a room of patience, of calm, of like, I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's it doesn't cost anything to be kind, guys. Like, and I know that the people that are going to start to veer towards these videos are the ones that have big hearts, and I know that these videos are going to start getting into the hands of the right people, and my job is to just keep putting them out and allow the algorithms to then go and do their things. But yeah, just kind of coming back to Sims a little bit. I did a little Google of the little bar at the bottom, and it just made me laugh. I had to write them down so I didn't forget. But the bars at the bottom that you have to make sure are okay: hunger, comfort, bladder, energy, fun, social, hygiene, and environment. Finances didn't come into any of that. But you know what does cost money sometimes? Fun, social, hygiene, and hunger, comfort, and environment. Like putting yourselves in pretty environments. That was one of the things that Jordan Peterson had said, that I absolutely loved about art and just beauty. And it's like making something beautiful. It's it's subjective, but what is beautiful for you? How do you, you know, put things in your surroundings that allow you to feel better? I remember then in the Sims game, you could go to the shop and you can go buy paintings to stick up on the wall, right? And then suddenly, as they're walking through their apartment, the environment tab goes up. Energy is a big one, so you must make sure that they're sleeping. You know, bladder, toilet, that's... I had a thought the other day when I was on the toilet. I was like, well, that's one of the few like forced rest pauses that we have in this world, and we've even infiltrated that by bringing our phones into the toilets and not even giving ourselves a second to think while we do the most natural thing that everybody has to do. Hunger, big one. Fuel, food, what you eat, fun, social, hygiene, and environment. Yeah, Motherlode was much more fun playing on Sims, and it immediately brought your character out of that stress, right? Out of that anger, because they'd come back from the day of work and they'd be like, whoa, energy down, and then that you must get them to go to sleep or take a nap, and then they must do something fun to kind of counteract everything that they'd gone and done at the office. And it just blew my mind that people would even use that as an option when we had the little dial to just go Motherlode, and then you get to play and create and have the creative fun, and then build on the little packs of... I mean, we got Sims Unleashed, we got Sims Hot Date, we got... so you could go downtown and go on a date, you could go buy pets, you could have pets around the house, then you got to take care of the pets, and then if you get plants, you got to water the plants. I mean, there are things that you can get busy doing in life when you're not actually having to go out and you know, force yourself to earn this shitty little income from something that, like... I don't know if you could hear my neighbour. They're watering the plants downstairs. I'm probably getting the kids wet. I don't know, it just seems like the lowest level of the game, and I've always known that, but then I've always sat in it thinking like, oh, there was still that distance between me and money, or me and something else. There was still that thought. Somehow, again, it trails, it lingers. Like, you got to get good with yourself. You got to get good with your desires. Like, what I want to do in this world, the places I want to go, the things I want to see, the people I want to bring together. Like, half the time when I think about earning more money, the first thing on my mind is the list of things I want to buy other people. I'm like, I'm going to take my mum to do this. I want to get this from my little sister, my little brother, my other sister. I want to get this from my husband. Oh my gosh, I'm going to buy... Like, it doesn't always come straight to me. I have my list of my protocols and my mentors and my groups and my supplements and my, you know, taking care of myself. I have my list of things that I want to do when that money comes in. But man, oh man, like, the majority of it is... it's coming for other people. It's not about me. It never has been about me. But in order for me to be in a position to provide that for others, I have to make it about me. I have to make it my mission to figure me out, to then put myself in enough of these uncomfortable situations to build this life that I see in my mind, that I know is there, that, you know, I've got to this point now where I've said it to my friend Jake enough times over the years, where it's like, quitting is not an option. So whatever this looks like and however I need this to look like in order for me to fully enjoy it and fully feel like I can be me in this experience and bring that to people, that's a start. I'm hoping these will get more insightful over time, but I have a feeling just having these conversations and showing the duality and the paradox of everything, and how I think this nasty cut, like this box, these boxes and these labels and these things that we just try and put across the board, I think biggest thing that needs to come off. It's like there is no big label. Like, yes, there are general phases, yes, there are general cycles, there are general things, everybody has their own shit, everybody has their own stuff, but even that, going back to what I was saying about bringing all your business frameworks into the house, it's one thing running a house like a $1 million business in terms of allowing you to scale and have time for the chaos inside it. It's another thing running a house like an absolute Nazi camp, expecting everybody to perform at the highest potential while also not feeding them properly to do so. Those are two very different environments to be living in, and where I feel like a lot of sometimes you can have the at-home problems, or you have highly successful people that then don't necessarily have the best relationships because they don't know how to balance both, or they are trying to bring what they're doing in the office into the home life and it's not working and it's infuriating. But it's because that's life and that's messy and that's humans and that's real, and in order to actually be aligned and be okay, you actually have to be connected enough to notice what the other fucking person is going through, or whether they've even had a bad day, or genuinely care. It came up again, I can't remember if it was a reel that I saw or a conversation that I had, but I remember the first time, I'm pretty sure it was my older sister that had said it to me about relationships and being in a relationship. And this was way back, even when I was in my first relationship. Coming out of that was a nightmare. We'd done long distance for a while, and I was getting to the point where I was fed up of his shit. He was just a mopey fucking... And then he told me he was diagnosed with depression, and then that was the same day that I dumped him, and then I was the bitch for dumping him on the day that he had depression, and I was like, nope, pretty sure you gotta have depression for a long time before you get diagnosed with it. And then after we broke up, I started finding out things that, like, he was saying that I was being demanding to his friends and that I needed his attention when I never do that. I remember getting back to Hong Kong and having one friend go, oh yeah, by the way, how come you needed to do this one day? And I'm like, I didn't. I just asked if he was free, and he said yes. He was like, oh, we had a boys' day planned. I was like, well, he didn't tell me that. I wouldn't pull him away from a boys' day. I think relationships are a very tricky one as well. Like, what limiting beliefs are you going into your relationship with that then you're projecting on the other person, or you're sort of manufacturing without the other person even knowing? I think one of the best things my husband ever did for our relationship, and said to me at the very beginning when we first started dating, he was like, Maya, your entire source of happiness cannot be derived from me. And that's fair. I don't think any one human being should have that pressure put on them. You should always be able to cultivate your own happiness, but also surround yourself with enough different people that you're never needing one person to be your soul for anything in that sense. Like, yes, he's my ride or die, but I can also cultivate my own sense of happiness. I can go be happy with my friends. I can leave him alone when he's having a sad day. I don't need everything to always be happy all the time. And I also have to learn to be happy in my own company. That was something I'd never learned to do. And that was only something very, very recently, when I had an absolutely wonderful day with myself. And I was like, oh, well, isn't this just nice? We need more of that. Like, if you can't actually hang out with yourself and have a fun day of activities, or plan yourself a fun day out, like, try plan yourself an adventure day. Like, block off a day. Say, this is my day to spend with me, and we're going to do all the things that I want to do, and go do all the things that you want to do. Like, it is that simple. It is that simple. The other thing that he said to me as well, which I feel like kind of plays into this subject, was that, I don't always like having to have a goal or something that I'm striving towards or something that, like that we're pushing for or work like all the time. It always has to be this like, and I think that's where that business into personal starts to tick in, where you're like, what is the next KPI? What is the next 5-year projection plan? What is the next, where are we going? And sometimes you're like, nope, we don't have to be going anywhere. We can just have a day. Dad used to say that too. Just having a day. And sometimes it's okay to just have a day where you're not striving for more or reaching for anything. And I think that's where we've slowly lost the play element of all of this, because play has been labeled as frivolous, or like, it's not, you don't know what the outcome is going to be, so you can have an area of play and come out the other end with nothing. But at the same time, the whole point of the play is that you get the shit out, you get whatever out, you don't know what you're going to come up with in play, I think. And that's, we've productized our entire lives and scheduled down to every nanosecond that there is literally no room for magic and spontaneity and like life to just come through. We've literally, like, I picture it now, it's like built ourselves into these boxes and we're like, why am I not having fun? I'm just like, maybe that's why. Maybe because you don't know what it's like to go get, I don't know, go get wet and go walk in the rain. Go jump in a river when you don't have a spare change of clothes and walk home wet. Go, like, that was something that even pegged at one point. I remember, and look, fair enough. Mum, she had 3 kids, 4 kids, all quite little. And when she had us 3 girls, there were 3 of us, 2, 4, 6. So we were all 2 years apart. To get that many people showered and changed and wet and then, dry and then to have to go do it again, like, it's a lot. So I see sometimes when parents are like, oh, don't get wet again. But half the time I'm looking at it, it's like, it's just water. We're waterproof. So you get wet, you get dry. Like, my man absolutely loves the water. That's why we've got the little pool on the top, the dipping pool on the top of the roof. And he will spend as much time as he can in water, but jumping in and out. And I remember even after we first started dating for a while, it's like I'd get in the pool and then I'd get out and they'd be like, oh, I don't want to get my hair wet. And it's like, why? It dries. It dries again. I'd rather have fun and jump in the pool again. And like, yes, at some points I don't like getting my hair wet, but it's coming out of this such rigidness of, when you just want to do this, just go do it. No, but you can't do anything you always want to do. It's like, yeah, because you've nano-managed your life to a fucking smudge that, yeah, if you deviate, shit starts to fall down in other places. You've not allowed any fucking space. And then, yeah, and then you're wondering why you're frazzled and on the edge all the time. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind. We're funny little creatures. Funny little creatures. Also makes me want to play Sims again. But not really. I feel like now I'm just playing real life Sims, where it's like, okay, let's hit Motherlode, and let's assume that we have now cash injected the Motherlode. Because again, when you manifest things, be, do, have, you got to become it first. You have to then do the actions to live as if, and then the manifestations shall rain upon you. But you have to be it, and you can't jerry-rig that sense of calm. I genuinely, like, it's amazing. And the one thing that I will say, one more quick lesson from Becca, which is nice, because she came through being a waitress, living on food stamps with her husband, who was a pig farmer. They have 4 kids, coming out of that. And now she is a multi-millionaire with 6 brick and mortar businesses and an online business and a coaching company that just keeps growing. She has so much love in the fucking pinky of her body. It's not even funny, and I can see it. And I can see over the last 2 years, because I jumped into her container after Dad passed. I knew I needed something that was going to save me, and I genuinely feel like that year in her container also saved me, because it showed me what was possible from a good person. It showed me what standing up and doing the work, regardless of the fear, regardless of the this, if you have a good heart and you focus on the people that you are serving and the people around you that can use your support and use your help, it grows. It's there. It's possible. And you only get more beautiful and more powerful and more energetic and more loving as you go on. And having those resources and having that availability. She even said in one of her reels recently, she was like, you know, the money is great, but that, the whole shit of like luxury this and paying for this, and like that wears off in 2 years max. Like 2 years, you're like, oh, okay. The biggest thing that wealth provides you is the ability to make decisions based on your energy levels. And all you see is the energy that it is either giving or taking away from your life and from the things around you and what matters most. And to be able to operate on that level is a different level of calm. It's not this reactive level. And then in order to reach that level of calm, the quickest way I know how now, I guess, is it's the nature, it's the exercise, it's the play, it's the fun, it's the injecting that back into your life first before you even start figuring out the how of even maybe the business vehicle. But it comes through you when you can almost put yourself in this little cone of like, all right, let's get these juices flowing, let's get this body moving, let's get this body working, and then start listening. And start noticing when you're going throughout your day. It's like, what does excite you? What does make you curious? That was the first thing when I was back in still teaching martial arts, or just coming out of martial arts and into building the agency, when I was still living in a shitty little room with a bunk bed and a toilet over. We've come a long way. But it was that was it. It was that decision to finally stop trying to plan the how or trying to micromanage the thing that I was going to do to complete the thing. And my only goal for that summer was to just follow the do more of what you feel you enjoy and figure out a way to do less of what you feel like you don't. And if anything is a no immediately when you get asked to invite, say no. And also learn to say no first, or check your schedule, or let's see. Because I was also very good at saying yes to everything. And then Maya, who said yes to it, was not impressed with Maya, who then had to go show up to the damn thing. Because it's like, ugh, I really didn't need to be here or want to be here. It was more of a FOMO thing that I felt, which wasn't even a FOMO thing because I don't even care. And I think you can get, again, so much energy can be wasted on saying yes to things because you think you're doing a good thing for somebody else when actually you're not, because by going and not enjoying yourself is almost worse than saying no and not being there and allowing them to have much more fun without you, if that makes sense. But yeah. Sims, man. Motherlode. Time to go get that motherlode and build in public. Build in public. And I think that's the end of my tea. And that's the end of week 4. Lincoln, come. Don't just yawn. Come here. Come say hi. Come say happy Friday. No, it's going to go down there. So yeah, happy Friday, guys. Hope you have an amazing weekend. And I will see you next week for more Tea with Maya. And my friend Lincoln will be here too.